Hello YouTube and welcome back. This is Nico and you're watching Dare to Game. Today we're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance and we're going to be looking at 4 more defensive buildings in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Now, not too long ago I did a video looking at the 3 or technically 4 major castles in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I had a comment asking, well, what about, you know, etc., these ones? And I was like, well, technically they're not castles. They are fortified buildings, and some of them have a lot of the same features as castles, but I wouldn't strictly call any of these castles. But that being said, they're still really great, so let's take a look at them. So obviously you can see we're over here at the Sassau Monastery, and let's just start with that. So first of all, it's not a castle, it's a monastery. I know that may be, you know, confusing from the name. Now, I know looking at it, it looks imposing and everything, but these are all these exterior walls are interior walls of the monastery. So it's not a defensive building. I shouldn't say that. It's defensive in nature. There's a lot of defensive things about it. It has big walls enclosing the courtyard, but it's not, like I said, it's not technically a castle. That's the way it's designed. Now, you've got fortifications, so let's talk about them. Obviously, right here we have a drawbridge. Unfortunately, there's no portcullis. These are just open. They're nice and long, which is good. So if they had a portcullis on that end and a portcullis on this end, and a bunch of murder holes up top, this would be beauty. But it's not, because it's not a castle. But it is a drawbridge, so like I said, the thing about it is, this is obviously designed as a monastery would be designed. This is designed to keep common bandits and ruffians out. This is not some place where you would defend against a invading horde, unless of course you had no other option. Now you look up here on the ramparts, you do actually have, this is nice, you have covered ramparts. Of course your crenellations, your merlons are nice and tall, nice and wide, so you're able to, you know, shoot through them effectively. Not all the way covered for some reason, the roof is missing there, but so like I said, it does have defensive features. Actually some of the nicer defensive features in the game. Just look at that. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the covered battlements right up here. That's nice. But anyway, let's pop down and look at the other gate. And I mean, even from you have the old church here, which, you know, honestly, it wouldn't be too hard to turn this into a proper castle. I would honestly build another wall around that, probably coming out to about here, and that would be my main keep. And the monastery would probably stay the same. I'd put a gatehouse here, fully fortify this wall, so that way if it were to be breached from either side, you'd have a useful defensive fortification here. Again, here I would have an actual gatehouse, not just a drawbridge and then a tunnel. There'd be a portcullis here and a portcullis there. The drawbridge is great. It's got a decent enough moat. That's a pretty steep ascent, so it'd be pretty dang hard to scale these walls, plus they are pretty tall. This side this is the best, most well-defended side. So I'm assuming that's because it's facing in some important direction, and this is the easiest to assault side, because the other side is even steeper and has a river, not too far. But this is the best defended, or defendable side. You can see you have battlements all the way along, you've got a nice tower, there is a drawbridge, it should be a full gatehouse, but it's not. And there's another tower there, so this is actually decent. There's a couple problems with this design. As I've already stated, since it's a monastery, there's all sorts of strategic weaknesses over there, but like I said, what I would do is I would just build up this wall here, fortify this, and turn that into a proper gatehouse, and then this would be the castle part, and out here would be the monastery. It should be like that. You'd think it would be. Because that way when all the monks need to flee the monastery when they're being attacked, they wouldn't have far to go and they'd be perfectly defended. But now we get to the problems. So as you can see, we've got some more buildings running along the outside that actually have their outer wall is outside of the defensive wall. Not a fan of that. I like the toilet. It's a nice touch. But anyway, so I'm not a fan of that. Also, this wall sucks. There's no defensive fortifications on this side at all, and it's only half the height of the other side. Like I said, this side would be harder to assault in force because of the river and the steep incline, but this wall would not be hard to get over. So I've got a huge problem with that, and also this tiny little door here, right out in the open where everyone can see, no fortifications, not even a bar on the inside. Not a fan of that. So, like I said, this is a great building. They put a lot of work into it, and it looks fantastic, this fortified square or whatever. But it is definitely not what I would call a castle. So let's move on to the next one. Alright, so for our second location, we of course have to look at Vranik Hillfort, and you can see we're just south of Sassau, so there's a monastery up there where we just were. Well, we're down here now. Now, for starters, as I've said with the other ones, and the whole theme of this video, it is not a castle. Now this one's even more obvious that it's not a castle. For one thing, they call it Vranik Hillfort, so it's just a fort. This is temporary fortifications for a small army. Of course, this is much older. This was here before this, or at least this was here before most of this was here. And the thing about this is, it is a great... what do you call it? It is a great fortified location. This is a really valuable location for an easily defendable fortress. So it would make sense to build a fortress here, but it is also of no strategic value. As you can see from zooming out on the map, there's nothing but forest around it. It's not in the middle of any important trade routes. It's not even on a river. This is not an important place, which makes sense why it wouldn't be, you know, a place that you'd build a fortress. Now, if Sassau was going to expand and they were going to clear all this woods and turn it into city, which probably happened eventually, then it would make sense to have a fortress here, because it would be in the town. It would be able to defend the town, or at least a good portion of the town, and it would be really hard to assault because of all these steep cliffs and the, you know, even like this is a really steep hill over here, and the approach would be it would be very defendable. But all that in mind, in its current state, it is not a castle. It is, I believe they call it a gourd in the game. That must be a Czech term. But let's take a look. Let's see if we can sneak inside. So even before we get inside, you can see from the outside here, this is the wall, and I use that term loosely. It's of course just a falling apart palisade. Now, don't get me wrong, Skalitz only had a palisade, but it was well repaired. And in fact, this palisade is even a little bit better than the outer wall of Skalitz was, because if you remember what I said, the problem with that wall was, it was useless. First of all, it wasn't very tall, it would be pretty easy to climb, and second of all, they didn't have any fortifications on the inside that would allow the defenders to, be able to shoot down over the wall to defend the wall. Basically, you could stand behind it, and wild animals couldn't get in, but, it wasn't much use other than that. So if we go in, you can see there's woods growing in it, and it's obviously in disrepair. But in the front, you actually have a halfway gatehouse, kind of. Probably accurate to the time. I'm not gonna... I've never been much of an expert on this period of... I don't know if you'd even call this architecture, but you can see it's got these sloping walls, which are very durable. Only a single gate, no portcullis, of course, because this would be before that technology, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure this would be prior to that technology. Of course, I could be wrong. And let's pop into the map. Now you can see it's got a pretty standard layout. You've got your upper up here. We'll walk up there. And then the rest is all laid out around here. They don't show it very well in the picture, so we'll just go through. So this is all in the outer walls of Brannock. And you can see there's really not much here. There's no permanent buildings. There's some... Well, I shouldn't say there's no permanent buildings. There's a couple buildings that will be permanent until they rot in about a day or two because they're, in bad condition. But they're there. And up here you can see there's another palisade. Now here you could... I mean, I would build some sort of a gatehouse if I were to, make this my own place. And then up here you have what looks like an old homestead, but, would be your keep. This would be where you're... Probably I'd keep my barracks and my keep up here. But yeah, so that's Brannock Hillfort. Like I said, yeah, this wouldn't be too terribly hard or expensive to rebuild and fortify, because there's plenty of woods all around. The primary construction is wood, and a good portion of the palisade is still probably salvageable. So you'd really just be filling in the gaps, fortifying it again, clearing out the inside, cleaning it up a bit, and rebuilding some structures, and bam, you'd be good to go. Brand new Hillfort. But with all that in mind, let's jump to location number 3. So for location number 3, we're at one that's really not a castle, but I really like it. It's one of my favorites, so that's why I'm going to show it to you. You'll notice we're at Neuhof, and this is a farm, which is why I like this one so much. Okay, so you can, obviously, I'm not going to belittle it. It makes sense to have an expensive estate. This is a pretty valuable resource. They breed horses here. It's a stud farm, so it's pretty valuable. But I just get a kick out of it. It's this farm out in the middle of nowhere, and it's not bad, for a farm. This is, like I said, it's not a castle. And of course, there's a million problems. You could make this so much better. First of all, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but this could be a gatehouse. It could be. But even so, this isn't bad. These look to be nice wood reinforced with iron. Pop an iron bar on the inside, you're golden. That's a pretty decent door. not a whole lot of armies besieging farms, you know. My main problem is there's no battlements. There's no, not even, I mean, I could even, honestly, it's just a farm. I could do without crenellations, but what I can't do without is a walkway. You gotta have something up there, some battlements, so people can fire down on it. Again, nothing overly impressive, no major defensive fortifications. I just really like this. Like I said, if I had the option in the game, you know, they were like, all right, Henry, you're awesome. You saved the whole world. You're fantastic. Plus, blah, blah, blah. You're not actually just a peasant. Well, what do you want to do? And I'd be like, well, you know, your vassal that was in charge of Neuhof, you know, the one that got killed? Yeah, I'll take his spot. All right, good as gold. And then I'd come here and I'd, you know, beef this place up, fortify the crap out of it. But yeah, so this is another one. So we got one left. One more place to look at, and then this video will all be done. Oh, it seems we've been attacked on our historical tour of Bohemia. How rude. Humans really are inconsiderate, aren't they? It seems like overkill for one person. I wasn't even riding a horse. Which was probably unwise on my part. Oh, boy. Wow, that guy's tough. Well, I got one of them. Two of them. The only time I ever get killed in ambushes is when it's a big group of humans like this. Every other time I'm usually fine. Oh my god, what was that? Oh, it was an arrow. Oh my god, there's two left. Ah, how did that guy not came back from the dead? Hey, did one run away? Cool. Ah, one left. Please don't kill me. Woohoo! Not today, Junior. Alright, so that was interesting. That was a fun little diversion. Alright, and so for our final building that we're going to be looking at, we have this little anomaly here. You'll notice it's below Skalitz, and this is actually funny, so let's just jump into it. So after the initial events of the game, Skalitz is left abandoned, spoiler alert, and some bandits, a small group of them, takes up residence here. And from the outside, you may not think why, but then it becomes pretty obvious. So it's got its own kind of halfway makeshift mode. It's right on the river, so that side's pretty defended. This is just, you know, flowage. I'm assuming it has something to do with mining. But it's got a wall all the way around it. It's legitimately got a better gatehouse than most of the other buildings in this game. I mean, to be fair, it's not even technically a gatehouse, and it doesn't look like there's any mechanism for the portcullis, but there is a portcullis. You've got a little bridge here that should be a drawbridge, but isn't. But anyway, inside you, of course, have walls that are too short to be much good, but still you have walls, and you can see they go up, and those ones actually have arrow slits in them that you can shoot through, so those are actually more useful than these stone ones. But once you get inside, there's several main buildings, some pretty large buildings actually, this one here, that one over there, and then you've got, I don't know, I guess stable space. You can see the wall on the far side facing the mine is actually taller and has sharpened points. So, you know, that's always good. Let me take care of these bad guys quick.
The answer to my prayers. Just when I wanted to vent. Bring it on! I'll send you straight to hell.
Alright, now that we've taken care of those guys. So you can see, obviously, ground's a little uneven. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is just some sort of a work yard for the silver mines. Which makes, you know, that means that the whole fortifications that may seem a little unnecessary, it makes it make sense, because I guess this would be a pretty important place. But you can see we've got these nice tall walls. They transition from the horizontal to vertical right here. Again, I've got problems. If you're going to have walls like this, that's dandy, but build some earthworks. Make some, you know, walkways or something. Again, up here, just a door. You know, nothing overly special. Nice door. It's not one that busts in the middle. It's a, you know, nice large one-hinged door, so that's nice. But yeah, like I said, obviously this one isn't one that many people asked about. This wasn't one that people were like, well, why didn't you talk about that little weird silver mine fort thing just south of Skalitz? But, you know, when making a video about cool fortified buildings in the game that aren't castles, you know, my mind immediately went to this one. And then, of course, the problem with their, you know, not being a gatehouse on this side, just another little door. But again, surprisingly well fortified for what we're looking at. But that does it for this video, so that covers 4 more buildings in the game that are cool, I guess. That's how I'm going to end this video. Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you did, I can assume you liked the content, and hopefully you'll subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, check out these links I have on the screen to see me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you like my content and would like to support what I do here, there's a link to my Patreon account in the description, and a donation would be much appreciated. In any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day.